Hi, this is Trash Dev. I'm Tapioca. This is episode 7 of my series about developing Lakeside, a fishing adventure RPG. In the last episode, I finished most of the first town, and I promised I'd do the rest in the next video. And it's been 6 months since then, so surely I did that, right? Well, you'll see. But yeah, it has really been a long time. I've spent some of that working on the game, but also a lot of time not, so don't expect too much. I tried a few times to make this video, but it never came out quite right, so I never released it. So now I'm forcing myself to do it so I can move on to something else. Anyway, let's get into it. The three things that still needed finishing about the first town were the intro cutscene, the tutorial, and the shop. Of those, I still haven't done the tutorial. It's going to be hard to implement the way I want it, and it's not that important, so I'll keep putting it off until later. For the intro, I went ahead and made the character customization screen too. Maybe calling it customization is a bit of an overstatement, it's just name and gender. I had to make this on-screen keyboard UI element because the whole game needs to support gamepad. After this, the intro cutscene itself plays. So yeah, it doesn't look like much, but I had to redo a lot of the low-level game state code to support changing maps mid-script like this. I'm gonna change it a bit more in the future too when I have more real maps to use in the background. Some slow camera movement I think would be nice too. Next was the shop. This is mostly just straightforward scripting work, but there's gonna be a few shops in the game, so I had to write the code to be reusable. This data structure is passed into C# from the shopkeeper's Lua script, and all the UI coordination is handled by the engine internally from there. The real challenge is determining the price the shop should pay for the player's fish, and here's what I settled on. Each fish has a base price, which is what the shop pays for it at its largest possible size. At the smallest possible size, the shop pays half the base price, and it scales linearly between those. Each shop has its own set of base prices, so you might get more value for a certain fish at one shop versus another. The problem is that I manually define the base prices. If there's 100 fish in the game and 3 shops, that's 300 numbers I have to come up with. I mentioned earlier in the series that my goal is to avoid balancing and coming up with numbers, but unfortunately there's no avoiding it here. I added a shop tab to the fish editor that lets me see and edit all the price data in one place. Another problem is that we don't actually know the largest and smallest possible sizes for a fish. Fish size is a property of each fish table, not each fish, so the upper and lower size bounds need to be calculated by iterating over every table. I do this at runtime right now, but as we add more and more tables, I'm probably going to have to pre-compute this and save it in fish.json somewhere. After finishing that, I started to work on graphical stuff. The game looks like shit, and part of the reason why might be the color palette making it look too MS Painty. So I redid the entire tile sheet using the NES palette, and yeah, this isn't helping. I think the palette looks kinda wrong. It's actually a bit of a complicated question what the NES palette even is, but it's clear this isn't gonna solve my problems. I ended up redoing a number of tiles to reduce the number of colors on screen, and also just to make the art look 2% less terrible. Tile animation is now a thing, to make the world look a little more alive. Every tile now has a frame count, and animation works by scrolling through adjacent tiles on the sheet. Seeing flowing water like this made me want to implement water currents as a game mechanic, so then I did that too. I added a list of scene locations to the fishing guide page for each fish. This populates automatically as you catch things, and it's sorted by how far into the game a given location is, so you can use the blank spaces as hints to find everything. In Town 1, you have to fish for a key to unlock a door, and choosing to drop the key softlocks the game since you can't get another. I fixed this by adding an important flag to fish in the editor that makes them undroppable and unsellable. I also could have just let you cache a second key, but that seems weird, like why would the guy have dropped multiple keys into the lake, so I didn't do it that way. The player can no longer be trapped in the corner by a following NPC. I still want your follower to have solid collision, so that way you can turn and face and talk to them, so I fixed this by only making the follower walk through when the game detects that you've been trapped. And of course, I fixed about 100 stupid bugs. Lists all had this giant white space at the bottom because they were using the wrong spacing value to calculate height. The item menu would crash if you selected something with more than 6 but fewer than 18 total items because of a scroll issue. There's no longer weird one-frame gaps between certain UI elements during cutscenes because script nodes that complete in 0 time are no longer taking their own frame to process. And last but certainly least, I added a drop shadow to all the floating UI elements. I have no idea if this actually looks good or not. I tried a few different things, but I'm just not sure. Seriously, let me know if you've got an opinion one way or another. I don't know, maybe it's fine. So it's time to start working on the next area in the game. This seemed like a good time to redo the overworld, which runs on decrepit and broken old code I haven't touched in years. Instead of the player having control, I want them to automatically walk between points based on how they left the map they were previously in. So when the player walks out of the first town on this road, they're shown walking to town 2, then they appear at the correct entrance to town 2. It's still going to scroll horizontally and look kind of the same as the old version. And here it is, I guess. I haven't drawn town 2 in yet because I'm still finalizing the layout, and I want the overworld to be as accurate as possible. There's no visual editor for this, and all the walking routes are defined in the code, but there's only going to be like 10 routes tops, so I think it makes sense to do it this way. I don't like how obviously repeating the trees are in this giant blank space up here, so I think I'll put something there eventually. I want this to be like the Super Mario World overworld, but much worse of course because I drew it. After that, I started designing the town itself. I did this the same way as Town 1, first with an MS Paint sketch, then transfer to grid paper, make the tile sheet, and finally creating the map in the editor. I didn't have the full scenario figured out at this point, but I had a few ideas in mind that led to the landmarks like the giant tower, the aquarium, and the pier. Once I finished the map, I realized it was way too small for how I envisioned the game being played, so I extended the right side riverbank out a lot and added a few points of interest where different fish can be placed. In Town 2, you'll have to win the amateur fishing contest being held by the boat shop out on the pier. It's clear that the town bully is cheating in the contest, so you'll have to come up with a way to out-cheat the cheater and win the boat. I scripted the intro cutscene that plays when you first enter town, but I have to finish actually making the building interiors before I can do any more work on the scenario. The focal point of the map is obviously the giant office building. It's the headquarters for a company that makes high-tech fishing equipment. You'll have to sneak into the building and get to the top floor for an important new fishing rod. I make fun of stealth sections in non-stealth games kind of a lot, but I'm gonna do one here and it's gonna be better because it's mine. I tried designing the floors from scratch in the editor, but ran into issues with the scale that reminded me why I don't do this sort of thing. Town 2 also has the aquarium. This doesn't have anything to do with the main scenario of the game, but all the fish in the aquarium have gone missing, and the owner wants your help to repopulate the tanks. By handing in unique fish to him, you'll be given unique rewards. Something special will probably happen if you can give him one of every type of fish in the game, but I don't know what yet. At this point, I took a pretty long break from working on the game. There's something that's been bothering me this whole time, and it's become impossible to ignore. The tech stack Lakeside is built on top of is ancient and terrible. I'm using Monogame, which hasn't received a major update in years, and it's based on a Microsoft API that was discontinued back in 2013. Just a quick update on that. As I was writing this and editing the video, they actually updated Monogame literally like a day or two ago for the first time since 2020, so holy shit, okay, fine. I'm building the game for .NET 5.0, which Microsoft ended support for in 2022, and the most annoying part to me is that playing the game requires some ancient DirectX and .NET runtimes installed that most people just don't have. I'm not even really sure what I'm talking about here, it just doesn't work on other people's computers most of the time, and I'm pretty sure that's why. So it's clear at some point I'll need to completely overhaul what the game runs on, and the longer I put this off, the more work it's likely gonna be. Right now, I'm thinking about swapping Monogame for FNA, since it's still XNA and I wouldn't have to change a lot of things, but I would have to implement a new asset pipeline from scratch, which I don't know how to do. I could also just gut everything and swap to Raylib, which would be more work but would also mean no more XNA, which is probably a good thing. So before doing any more work on the game, I'm gonna finally take care of this. Please look forward to it in the next video, which I'm sure will be very exciting, but that's gonna be it for now, so thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.